Okay. All right. We stopped yesterday at the first slide from the document I shared. Let me share my screen first, so we'll be able to see what we are trying to work with today. And the assignment I gave to us, please, I don't know, some people did not attempt it, while some attempted it. Please, it's very important for us to practice everything we learn. It's not about attending the live session or watching the recorded session and not practicing what we've learned. So this is not different from someone who doesn't even participate at all. So please, let's try as much as possible to attempt the things we are given as quizzes or assignments. So this will actually make us know if we are really getting it. And if probably you are not getting it as well, you can always reach out to me in my DM, or even you can use the support or the submission group as well to ask questions. So fellow students and even the admins too can respond to your questions. So please, let's try to attempt these assignments. And also, as I said, I sent a message last night that we are taking records of everything that's happening as we are learning. So we are taking note of the active students and those that are not active, because at the end of this whole 7 days program, we'll be having certificates given out to students that participated in this whole program. So everything depends on how active you are during the whole session. Please, let's try as much as possible to make the best out of this program. So we'll be going straight into today's agenda. So I'll be sharing the PowerPoint we'll be using. You can see what we have for today. Let me take it to slideshow. Okay, so we've taken the first one. This was for yesterday, and this is for today. So the things we are going to be taking today, they are quite interesting because we're going to CSS today as well. But before we go into CSS, we need to take some things in HTML, which are, you can see we have lists, we have tables, we have forms, we have semantic tags. And yesterday we already talked about lists. If you still remember, the ordered list and the unordered list. And the assignment I gave, let me just see, the assignment I gave was to build a profile web page with images and links. So what you're expected to do, which some people already did, is that you're expected to put an image on the page, and there should be like an heading which is going to contain your name, probably like H1 or H2, and there's going to be like links to your social media platforms. Like you use Facebook, you put a link to your Facebook account. You can copy your profile from your Facebook account itself. And if you have Instagram as well, you can put your Instagram link and say go to Instagram. If you also have LinkedIn as well, you can do the same thing. So these are the things that you're expected to do for the assignment. So some people already attempted it, while some did not attempt it. Please, if you've not attempted it, please just try to do it this night as well and submit it in one will be given today. So that it's not about just learning, you need to also practice what we've learned. So for today's class, we'll be going straight up into what you are going to be taking. So the first thing, as I said, we've taken lists yesterday, which is the UL, the LI, the OL, and these are things we already understand. So the next one on the agenda is tables. So tables is the next thing we have on the agenda. So I'm sure you would have seen tables before. So tables are kind of like a way of organizing our data. Let's say, for example, you have data of students and you want to arrange things in such that they are in ordered form. So you can have like a column that says name, a column that says matric number, a column that says, you get that kind of a format. So that's what tables are actually used for in programming. Not only in programming, majorly in the field of, not even only in science, even when it comes to marketing, when it comes to even in arts and many other fields in life. So make use of tables. I already have a folder I created yesterday which I showed us. So this is the folder which we have our HTML file inside. So if you want to open this folder, I already showed us, you right click on the folder and you will see these options. So you click on the open with code. So click on open with code to open this folder in VS Code. So that's just for the first one. And also my browser is also open. So I will be resizing my browser so it can be in this format as I showed us yesterday as well. So let me just go back to my VS Code is still opening. And please, as you are joining, please let's mute our mic. Thank you very much. And also, if you have questions, please you can send them into the chat box in this meeting. Send them to the chat box, or maybe after the meeting, you can send your questions to the group as well. So I'm still waiting for my VS Code to open, and it's already opening. And I can open my browser as well. So this is what I showed us yesterday, how we can minimize and make our screen side by side. So this is what we did yesterday, our HTML file we worked with, and this is the image we used to practice how to import images as well. And remember I told us about live server as well. So you want to make use of the live server you need to come to the HTML file and right click on any part of the page. Just right click and you see open with live server. Then click on the open with live server to open the live server. So it's going to open on our Chrome browser. So it takes a little bit of time depending on how fast your system is. So you can see we have starting at this point. So it shows you that it's already loading the live server. So as I said, for today we'll be going into, let me take this like this. So we'll be going into we'll be taking tables as well for today. So what are tables? As I said earlier, tables are used to structure our data. They're used to arrange data. So let's say, for example, we have a list of students. Let's say we have 5 students. I want to arrange them in details. And even before I forget, I sent a PDF, is it a PDF or a Word document to the group. So it is all these, what is it called? I think it's a PDF. The HTML elements and how to make use of them. I've sent that already. So our live server is running already. So let's wait for it to load. So now let me just go straight up into today's work. So for the tables, so this is everything we did yesterday. Okay. So for tables now, the table has the table element, which means if you want to create a table in HTML, you make use of the table element. So for table elements, you can choose to write like this, as I said yesterday as well. So when you type the name of the element, it's going to give suggestions based on the available elements for that particular thing you've typed. So when you write a table, you wait to see this particular, what is it called? This particular spanner icon. So you click on enter. So when you click on enter, you are going to get the table element. So but table element is only a container for the whole table content. The same way we have OL and UL as container elements for the remaining elements. So that is how we have the table as a container for everything in the table. Let me just bring this down. So nothing is going to show because there's nothing on the screen for now. Sorry, can you see my screen? I think it's not showing up on my side. Can you see my screen? You can signify by probably raising your hand, or you can unmute your mic. Guys, can you see my screen? Well, I think it's not going from here. Probably I should stop sharing and share again. Okay, let me just share my screen again. Okay, so yeah, it's working back now. Okay, so as I was saying, so this is for the table element, which is the container element for the whole table. So we have several other elements that can be used under the table element. The same way we have elements used inside the ordered and unordered list. So that's just the same way it works. So for the table now, we give it a space because this is just the container, like the parent. So we have table rows and table data. So table rows is like for every row in a table, there is a set of data that can be inside it. So let me just take us through that as well. So for the table row element, we have the TR tag. So just type your TR and you see this suggestion. Then you click on enter. So table row means that everything you see on a row. For example, on a row you have several things like, let's say SN, name, matric number, and many other things. So that is a row. So if you want to declare everything you have on a row, you make use of the TR. So that's for the TR. And also TR is also a container element again. So you see this kind of nesting. So we call it nesting when you put elements inside elements. So we call it nesting in HTML. So if you have a particular row and you also have data inside, then you come inside this TR again. So to set the things inside the TR. So in the TR we have another element called the TD, which is the table data. It means for every row, let's say we want to have five columns, for example. So on that row you'll be having 5 TD. This is still semi-complex, but don't worry, when we actually take an example, you understand better. So we have the table data element. So click on table data as well. So this is now where everything stops. So this is where the nesting stops. And let's say, for example, we want to have a table that shows student details in the university, for example. So for the first TR that we have, so which is the first row, and in the first row we are going to be having like 3 columns. So for each column we'll be having a TD. So let's say for example now we have SN as the first column we have in the table. where is this coming from? So you can see we have SN. Let me see, it should be showing up already. So you can see, let me hide this. So you can see we already have SN at this point. So if you want to have another column in this particular table, you need to add a new TD. So click on enter and write a new TD. So let's say this one should be, let's say, name, for example. So to show the name of the student, so you can see it is now making sense. So we have another column. This name is a column and this SN is also a column. So we have two columns now in the same row. You can see they are also in the same row. So let's say we want to have a new column that says matric number, for example. So we have a new TD like that as well. So you have matric number. Okay, so that's just to create another column which is matric number. So you also have should we just stop here? Yeah, let's just stop at this point. So let's just take 3 columns. So remember that everything we have here, everything is still inside a single row. You know the difference between rows and columns. So this is a row, this whole thing is a row, this whole thing like this is a row. But when we talk of columns, matric number and everything below it is a column. So that's just for that. Now when we are done with this particular row, we need to create a new row for all the data under the table. So we just need to come under this TR. Remember that you are nesting. You need to make sure that you close an element first before you close its parent element. The same way we did here, that let me show you us for the UL. See what we did here, we have the LI opened and the LI closed before we close the UL. So if you are nesting, you must make sure that you close the child first before you close the parents. Very, very important. If not, you won't have what you want. So now to create a new row is going to come below this one. Aha, so you get that point now. So for a new row, we need to use the TR, the table row elements. So I'll write my TR and I'll click on enter to create a new table row. So I click on enter again to give it spacing. Now for the second row, I need to follow the same syntax. So our table has 3 columns now. So you need to make sure that you have 3 columns here so that each column can fit below each of the parent column at the top. So you get. So for the first table data we'll be having, which is SN. So I'll be having TD. Now SN should be 01, for example, which is the number. So that's for the first one. Then we'll be having a new TD as well. So now the second TD is going to match the second TD we have for this part here, which is the name. So let's say the name of this one is what? Let's say Abdul, for example. Let me use this case. Okay, so we have Abdul, for example. So you can see we are having our changes here already. You can see this SN is, everything is here on this. This is a row, this is another row again. But this SN is a column. So everything below it is a column. Name also is a column. This also is under the same column. So the same thing we do for the matric number. We need to create a new TD again for the matric number. So let's say we have just a random set of numbers like this. So you can see everything is now aligning because we have SN as the first column and you can see 01. We have name as a column as well. You can see Abdul, and we have matric number also, and you can see the number we have. So just note that if you are creating a table, the number of rows or number of columns you have here must match the number of columns you have in the subsequent ones as well. So if you want to do the same thing, I can just copy this TR. I can copy it from here, and I can paste everything we have here again. So I can just change this to 02, and let's say I change this to, let's say, Yusuf, for example, and I can just change this number to 000. So that's just for this one. And if you look at what we have here, you can see everything is coming under the row. So for every row, we are going to be having a new line, but for every column, it's going to be on this vertical axis. So that's just basically how to do tables. So you can just keep going on. If you want to have like 100 students, you keep following this syntax. But we're looking at how to style the tables. Probably you want to learn how to style it. So that's actually in CSS. So we won't be talking that today. Probably tomorrow we'll be talking about how to style our tables. So that is CSS aspect of this particular session. So you can also keep having other rules as well. And also let me now take us through this first part. This first table row we have here is the heading of our table. Like it is the heading of the whole table, which is telling the browser, which is telling the user that this is like the title of the whole column. I don't know if you got what I'm trying to say. So we can't have headings as plain text like normal text. So headings need to be bold, you get. So that's why we have the TH, table heading. So instead of having TD for headings, we have TH, table heading. So just change the TH, change the TD to TH to signify that this is the title or this is the heading for our table. So change all the TD for the heading to TH. So just as simple as that. Okay, so you can see everything is now working fine. Look at how it is now. You can see that it shows that this is the title, this is the heading of our table. So that's just for this table as well. So there are many things you can do with table. You can have probably a list of students, a list of items, your database as well, that in form of tables. I would have just want to show something in the database, but it's not part of what we are trying to touch today. So many things you want to do in life. When you talk of tables, it's something you use in various aspects of our day-to-day life. So that is just about tables. I don't want us to stay too long on any topic for today. So that's just for the tables now. The next thing we'll be going into from what we have in our agenda for today is forms. Yeah, one very important part of HTML when you're learning HTML is forms. You would have seen websites where you need to register for something, and you have to input your data. You need to input your name, your email, your phone number. So even when you're registering for this class, you fill the form. So that form consists of input boxes, and these are all called forms. So a form is like a group of input boxes and similar objects that you can use to receive data from a user. So if you want to ask a user to enter his name, for example, you need to make use of an input element. So you've touched table already, so let's go to the next line. So if you want to create a form, you start with the form element. So for the form element now, we have an element we call the form. So the tag is also form. So just start by writing form. So you can see we still have this particular spanner icon. So just click on enter. So if you click on enter, you'll be having the form displayed. So but you are seeing this action equal to this. So let me just remove this. This is advanced part. So I won't even be touching it at all. So okay, yeah, it's recorded. So this is for the parent element of the form, which is the form element itself. So when you get to some part in HTML, you need to start doing what we call nesting. So nesting is when you put an element inside another element. So let me just take us through one rule in nesting. If you are trying to nest, you must make sure that the first element that is opened is one that is closed last. See it as a box, whereby you open a box and put element inside the box. So you need to cover the inner element first before you cover the main box. So that is how nesting actually works. So you need to make sure that you close the first one last. So now for the form, we have several form elements. There are a lot of form elements we use in HTML. So most of them start with input. So if you want to receive data from a student or from a site user, and you want him to enter his name, so make use of input element that receives name. This is still sounding like magic. Let me take us through how to make use of input elements. So input element have the input tag. So you write your input, and you see we have options here already. So just click on enter. Now we have several input elements that we use in HTML. There are a lot of them. Input type equal to text. See what I'm trying to say? Look at this type equal to text we see here. So we have input type equal to text, we have type equal to color, type equal to password, type equal to email, type equal to radio, a lot of them. So type equal to checkbox. So just to take different kind of data to ensure data integrity, so that you won't let the user to enter his password in a field that shows his password clearly. You get what I'm trying to say? Now when we get to password, you see what I'm trying to say regarding this. And also, I said something yesterday about empty elements. So empty elements are elements that have only opening tags. They do not have closing tags. And opening tags are what we have here in this format. See what I'm trying to say? Opening tag is what is between this less than symbol and this greater than symbol. But look at the difference between an empty element like the input element and a non-empty element like our TD. Look at TD, for example. It has an opening tag, which is TD, and it has the closing tag, and it has a content in between those two tags. So those are non-empty elements. But for empty elements, they don't have closing tags. You can see we don't have something like input. So you are not even getting the suggestion already. So you can't even get anything like that because it is not possible in HTML. So that's just for empty elements. But rather, empty elements usually have attributes attached to them. So attributes are just used to add more details to the elements because they can't even have normal text or content inside them. So this is the input element over here. Look at it over here. This is the input element. So you can type it into the input element. So you can see you can type anything inside the input element because it's an input element. So as I said that we have different types of input elements. We have the type that takes normal text, which is input type equal to text. So type is an attribute for input elements. So this text is telling us that the data type you are trying to receive from the input is just a normal text, which can be probably a number, a letter, or just anything at all. So that's for input type equal to text, which is what we have seen here. So we have other input types also. So let me just do this input. So I don't want to use the suggestion this time around. So now we have other input types. As I said, we have input type equal to password. We'll be taking that one next. So for password now, just write type equal to. So remember, attributes always have double quotes surrounding the value of the attribute. So the attributes are in this format, whereby we have the attribute name and we have the attribute value inside double quotes or single quotes. I said that to you yesterday. So now for this part of our data, we don't want to take normal text, so we want to take, what do we call it, we want to take password. So we have an input type equal to password. So as I type in, we see the suggestion, just click on enter. So we have input type equal to password, but you can see that they are similar, like they are both the same thing. But the difference is that we are typing into input type equal to text. Let's say I type my name, for example, Abdul Martin, and I want to type something inside this input type equal to password. So this second one here is this one we have over here. So if I want to type something into this part now, I think I should put a line break here so that we can actually see everything we're trying to do very well. So you can see we can now. Okay, so this line break element, let me just quickly talk about this one. The line break element is also an empty element as well. So we have many empty elements. We have the image as an empty element, we have the input as empty element, we have BR, which is the line break, as empty element, we have HR, horizontal rule, as empty element as well. So we'll be touching some of them as we move on. So for this line break now, for example, if you want to divide something and add a single line space, an empty space, so you can use your BR. So that's the function of the BR. So for this one now, as I said earlier, difference between an input type equal to text, as I typed something here earlier, Abdul Martin. Then for this type equal to password, anything you write inside the password field is going to appear as a dot or as an asterisk. If I'm to type my name again, you can see we have a dot, ABDUL. So you can see everything is coming as a dot. So this is because passwords are not normal text. Passwords should be concealed. They should have privacy. So that's just the difference between type equal to text and the type equal to password. So we have several other input elements as well, or input types as well. So if you are typing your input, I'm sure you'll be seeing these drop downs. So these are the various kinds of input elements we have. So this is just the normal input. If we have input type equal to button, input type equal to checkbox, type equal to color, type equal to date. So let me just show us examples of all these things too. So input. Then for the type now, so let's say we want to have type equal to let's say color, for example. Type equal to color. So let's see what it actually looks like. So see what it looks like is an input box where you can select colors. So different kinds of colors is what it actually works for. So if you click on this particular thing now, click on it and you will see that it's going to show you different kind of colors that you can select from. So sorry. Okay, so I think it's going to cause a little bit network issue. No problem. Let me put in do not disturb. Okay, so as I said, the difference between this input type equal to color that we can actually see here is that when you click on this, you'll be able to see different colors and you can make use of them. Though we won't be talking about how to use them now, but these are things that you'll probably be learning as you move on. I don't know, is my screen still showing? I don't know if it's still showing up. Let me show you guys. So actually is network issues. So when a call enters and you are trying to use your data, so it's going to counter one another and it's going to cause a like an interference or so. So this is what is actually happening. Let me just wait a minute to go back to normal so I can join back. So okay, sorry guys, so I had a kind of like a network issue. So I got a call during the meeting and it caused a network interference. So I'm very sorry for that. So I'll just continue by sharing my screen so we can continue from where we stopped. Okay. Alright, so let's just continue from where we stopped. Where were we? Okay, so I was talking about the input type because of color, that you can use it to change the color. As I said, this is not something we'll be needing for now. It's something we'll be using probably later as we move on in our field in web development. So we also have several input types as well, apart from these three. So let me just create another input. So for this type now, let's say we have type equal to checkbox, for example. So for example, we are asked to select something and probably we are you see something like um, I agree to the terms and conditions. You see this kind of text. So this is what they actually use. You can see checkbox. So to check a box, that's what it's used for. And we also have other ones like radio, radio box as well. Input type equal to radio. So we have that as well. So input type equal to radio. It's similar to this checkbox, but it is actually round, not a square. And it is something that once you select, you can't unselect it. Yes, you can't. You see, this one is that when you click, you can unclick. But for this one, you can only select and you can't unselect it. So we also have several other input elements that you can actually also go through and study. We have input type equal to number. So I'll be taking this and one last one, which is the password. So input type equal to number allows you to enter only numbers. So this is it over here. Allows only numbers. So you can see that we even have a difference between this and this. Look at these arrows. So because you can increase the number and you can decrease the number. So if you try to enter text into this, I'm trying to enter text, but it is not going at all. But if I try to enter 1, 2, 3 or anything like a number, so it's actually going to go through. But the only letter you can enter is E, which is the only number, because E is used as exponentials, like let's say exponential 10 for example. So that's why you can only use E. But apart from that, you can't enter any other text apart from numbers into this. You can't even enter characters like hashtag or anything. So you only enter numbers into it. So because numbers can be increased and decreased, so that is why you can only enter numbers. And the last one we're taking under input element is this input type equal to email. So let's say you want to allow a user to enter his email into a particular box, and you want the email to even follow the particular syntax for emails, then you make use of the input type equal to email. So for example, now if we try entering something like a@gmail.com, so you can see a@gmail.com. So one of the reasons why we make use of this email is because it allows us to ensure validation. For example, if an email is not following this syntax, so you can easily alert the user that your email is not correct or something like that. So that's by using the required attribute. So there's an attribute we use for input element which is called the required. So it is going to make sure that the users fill in that box, which like it's telling them that it's compulsory to fill a particular box. When you are filling the form to register for this class, you might have seen that all the input boxes are compulsory except the last one, which says that you should write what we expect from the class. So how to make use of the required attribute, and we also have some attributes that they don't have a value. So this is similar to the required. So you just required alone. You don't have to say required equal to maybe something, no. So you don't need this at all. Just write required. It's going to tell the page that this thing is compulsory to fill. So if you fail to fill it, it's going to show you an error that this is compulsory. So if you do the same thing for the remaining one, try this particular email. So if you use required for the email, not read only required. So if you are trying to enter your email into this place now, for example, and you now leave the page and probably you are trying to verify something, it's going to tell you that no, your email is not correct. So that's just one of the reasons why I make use of this required. So that's just for the required. Okay. So now I think we should leave input element for now. Okay, yeah, before I even leave that, we have several other input elements apart from this input. I mean, we have several form elements apart from just input. We have other ones like the select, we have ones like text area as well. So let me just take us through those ones too. I don't want us to waste time on this. So for the select now, let's say you want to have like a drop down. Yes, it's called a drop down. So it starts with select element. Oh, sorry. So start with the select element. You can see we already have the suggestion here already. Just click on enter when you get the suggestion for select. So it's going to have a name and ID. Yes. So the name and ID, we've not touched this name and ID attribute. But then when we get to CSS, probably at the end of today's session or maybe tomorrow's session, I will explain this ID and what it is used for. So this name too is also very, very important, and it's one of the attributes that we can use to link a select element to another element. So also I'll try to touch this one too as we move on. But for now, let's just take away everything for now. So for the select element, it's also a parent element, like a container for several other elements, and the element that come inside the select are called the option element. So it means that for every drop down you see, there's always like options you can choose from in the drop down. So we have the option element. So you can see the option element has an attribute called value. So this value is like, if you're trying to make use of this in your backend also, probably you're trying to pass data from your front end to the back end. So all these things are very, very important. Even the name attribute I removed from this select is also very, very important if you are trying to pass data across. But for now, let's still leave this for now. So, but because we are just trying to touch the basics. So now for the option, now for the first option we'll be having, this is it over here. You can see what we have here now. Wow. So you can see that we already have something like this. So this is actually what it looks like. So now for the first option, let's say we want to have something like it says, so let me have something like an H3. Let's say choose your state of origin, for example. Choose your state of origin. So we'll be having a drop down where you can choose your state of origin. So for the first option we'll be having is what, let's say Lagos, for example. So you can see we already have Lagos inside this drop down, so everything looks fine. You can have another option to show something else as well. So it's just simple as okay, sorry for that. So just need to create a new option, click on enter, and you can just choose to remove this value as I said. But let me leave this one for now so I can explain what value is used for. So let me add a new one, like let's say Ogun State, for example. So we now have two options in our select elements drop down. So if you click on Lagos now, you'll be having two options, which is Lagos and Ogun. So you can choose anyone you want to choose among both of them. So you can actually still have other ones as well. Let's say we want to have Abia as an example as well. So we now have three options to choose from. So these are just basic things that we need to know about it. So for the value now, so for the value for this one now, in most cases we, I don't know what's making it go off. Okay, so in most cases now we make use of this value element or this value attribute. We put the same text as the value we have. So this is just what it looks like. So that if we're trying to pass data across, we can easily tell the backend that this particular thing that the user selected belongs to this value. So you can use it to align data together. So that's actually something like advanced, but let me not touch that. So I won't bore us with this. Okay, so that's just for the select elements used for creating drop downs. We also have text area, which is the last one we'll be touching today. So the text area element is actually a standalone element. See what it looks like. So where you can enter a lot of text. But look at this one now. Input element only allow you to write like a paragraph, just a plain, a straight line something. But for text area, you can write something very much, like I mean very, very much inside. You can have several lines as well. You can also set the width and columns too for this. So which is the code for this. So let's say we want to have a column of 3, for example. So just see how the size is changing. It has reduced. So let's say we have a column of 10. So it's going to increase. You can also have the rows as well. So you can also set the rows. So let's say the rows is, let's say 30, for example. So just see how big it will become now. So this is too much. So let me just use 3 for example. So you can see so 3 is actually okay. But for the columns, let's say we can make it 50 for example. So you can see how big it is now. So that's just one of the attributes. So the cols, which is for the columns, and the rows, which is for the rows. These are the attributes that we make use of under the text area. So I think we've touched a lot of things under this form element of the thing. So if you want to create a registration form or a login form for a user, I think you already have an idea of how to do that now. So let's say you also want to create a button. Yes, very, very important. You should not even skip buttons at all. One of the very important things that you must make use of in every website, they are buttons. So if you want to create a button, it is by using the button element. So the button element also has the button tag. Just write button and click on enter when you see this spanner stuff. So for the button now, you can see by default it is just one small thing like this. So wow, so even telling us to even fill this already, because the button is inside the form element. So by default, the browser is going to see this button element as the submit button for this particular form. You get what I'm trying to say. So in the button now, you can have a text like, let's say, submit as an example. So you can see now this is now a button. It looks like a button exactly. So the reason why we're having something like telling us please fill out this field is because we added the required attribute to this. You can see that you have required attribute. So if you remove this from here and you click on submit now, you'll be having for this, which is the email. You can see we have required here as well. And if you remove this also, if you click on this now, it just reload the page for us. So that's just what it's used for, because when you submit a form, the page will reload as usual. So that's why we make it of the required, to make sure that the user does not submit a form unless he has filled all the necessary forms or necessary input elements or input field. So that's just everything I think we should touch for the form. So I think we can go to the next one now. So next thing we have on agenda is semantic tags. Wow, we have a lot of things to go into today. So semantic tags are tags that are used in HTML, and these tags they have meanings. Like for example, if you want to create a header, you shouldn't just use a different element. You should use the element that was created specifically for headers. If you want to create a navigation bar, you make use of the nav element created specifically for nav. So when we talk of semantics, it means we are trying to use something that is supposed to be used for that thing. If you want to probably make your text bold, for example, if you want to make a paragraph bold, you shouldn't put the paragraph inside a heading just to make it bold. So let's say you just want to put a normal text, you now make use of the heading element or one of the H1 to H6. So this is not appropriate because this is not semantic enough. You should use probably one of those things used to make things bold. You should use that instead. Or maybe you want to create like a footer. So you now made use of something different from a footer element to create a footer. So this is actually very, very wrong as well. So we have one element I also want us to touch, which is the div element to create divisions. So it's something that we will learn better in when we get to CSS. So just div and that is all. So the div is like a container element that you can put almost anything inside. You can put a paragraph inside, you can put a heading inside, you can put anything inside it. You can put a table, a form, list, and any other thing inside. So it's like a division. So this is also one of the things we make use of in semantics. We have other elements for semantics, and I said I shared the document earlier where we have a lot of semantic tags. So let me just take us through some of them that I have compiled here. So you can also go through it as well after this session. So these are them already. This is it. So for the semantic tags, the first one we have here is what? This is the first one, which is the nav. So what's wrong? So you can see this nav element, it defines navigation links. So if you want to create a navigation menu, you make use of the nav. Yes, you make use of the nav, not just a div or any random thing. So the nav should be the container for everything that has to do with navigation menu. So you don't make use of something different. And see the syntax of how to make use of this nav when you want to create a navigation menu. Let me see if I can zoom this. I think it's not clear enough for those that are actually using their phones. So you can see it very well. I don't know how big it is now, but I think it's still okay for now. So look at the syntax. We have the nav as a parent element. As I said, it's the parent element for other elements, and this is the closing tag for the nav element. So I think it's getting bigger. So inside this nav element, we have we have children element, or we have element inside it. So we can make it of this anchor element. So if you want to have a navigation bar, like those ones that you see at the top of websites, where you see home, about, login, contact us, that you see at the top of websites. So these are navigation menu, and this is how we make use of them. This is how we create them. So take note of this. In the assignment we'll be submitting, I would like us to probably do something that has to do that looks like this. So do it just for it. So you can see we have A and the href. We explained this to you yesterday. The anchor element that takes you to the home, and this is it here. And we also have the one that takes you to the login page as well. So we also have another semantic element, which is the header element. So this header element, it defines a header for a document or a section. So look at how it is being used. So header also, like when you're talking of the parent, like the first heading you see on the website, so you put inside the header element, which is this H1 we can see over here. So we have other ones too as well. We have the footer. So if you want to put a footer in the website, to make use of this footer, you can see this is the syntax over here, the footer element and the footer tag, and you put something like copyright 2025, blah blah blah. You can put your website name as well. So we also have other ones like the main, so which is the main content of the document. So you can see everything here. So why do we make use of the semantic tags? You can go through everything else on the I sent it already to the group. I might have to resend it because of those that just joined. So why do we make use of the semantic tags? Because when you are trying to look at what we call SEO, search engine optimization, so that search engines can easily track your website. So it's actually very very good. So that when people search for your website name, it will show them as a search result. So it's very very good for SEO practice. So that's just for the semantic tags. Okay, so the next thing we have on the agenda is that is CSS introduction. So I'm sure that everything we've been doing since day one, which we later. So everything we've been doing here, you can see we are just seeing black and white, black and white. Look at this, it's color black, white background. This is color black again. This is our list. This is our anchor element, which is this one random color, like purple color. You can see. So everything is just random colors, black and white, everything. So how do we actually add stylings? How do we make it appear beautiful? How do we make the colors different from these default colors? How do we make this bigger? How do we increase the width of this? So that's how we make it of CSS. So CSS is cascading style sheets. It is used to add designs and live to make our design, our website appear more beautiful than the default black and white color. Because imagine a website that is just showing black and white. Do you know what it will look like? So it won't even look beautiful at all. And see how everything is scattered on the page. You can see, so it's not even looking fine at all. So that's where CSS comes into action. So how do we make use of CSS in our HTML file? So CSS has HTML has an element to make use of. So there are three ways of using CSS in our HTML, and I've also mentioned them here. So we have the inline, we have the internal, and we have the external. So I will take the inline first. So inline is when you want to add a style to an HTML element, and you make use of attributes. So we also have an attribute called the style attribute. So I think you are getting what we mean by attributes bit by bit. So let's say for example, I want to change the color of this heading 1 to, let's say, color red. So I make use of the style attribute inside the h1 element. Attributes come inside the opening tag before the greater than symbol. So it's something around this place. So now, as I said, it is the style attribute. So which means it is like style. Then click on equal to. So you can see we have style equal to, and we have this double quote. As I said, you can also make use of single quote as well. But me, I prefer using double quotes for many reasons, because sometimes you might need to make use of single quotes inside double quotes. So to prevent that kind of error, so make use of double quotes as the first one we use. So let's say we want to give it a color. So in CSS, we have one syntax we make use of in CSS. So syntax in the sense that if you want to give something a color of red, for example, should I just create a CSS file now? I don't know. Well, we'll do that later, but that's for external, not for inline. So inline is when you're trying to add styling inside the element itself, like inside the line, as the name implies. So now we have style equal to something. So if you want to give it a color of red, you just say color, and a colon and red, and the color changes to color red. You can see how easy it is to change the color. So let me now try to explain this syntax to us so we can understand it better. So we have this style attributes first of all, and it has a quote, double quote or single quote that we choose to use. Then inside it we have this color and colon red. Don't mind this box, so it shows because this is VS code, so it's going to show, because sometimes you want to change it from this end, and you get, so it's not something that is related to the code at all. So now this color is known as a property. So it's known as a property, and this red is known as a value. So properties are actually, they are the things we want to change. I don't know why this is coming up. So they are the things we want to change in our code. For example, in this one now, the property we want to change is the color property. So to change the color property, we make use of the color property text, and the value is going to be what? It's going to be red. So let's say you want to change the color green as well. Just come over here and just put green, and it changes to color green. You can see this changes to color green as well. So that's how easy it is. So you can also have other properties too. Probably you want to change the font size, the font width. You want to change the text align. You want to change the height, the width, and every other thing like that. So that's how to make use of the inline styling. So we have the style equal to something. So we have the color, which is what we want to change. and you have the thing you want to change it to. So that's how easy it is. So let's say for example for our coming so let's say for example for okay, now let's go to the image element. So for the image you can do the same thing. So you can choose when you have several attributes in one single element. You can see for the image now we have an SRC attribute already, we have an alternate attribute already, we have width already as well, and I think we also have height already. So I'll be removing this width and height. We can do this with CSS. It is better with CSS, yes. So you see that it's become very big now. So to change this now, if you have several attributes, as I said, you can put any of them in any format. It does not really matter. You can put the style at this point, or you can also put the style at this point. So let's say we want to have the style attributes at this point, which is the last thing we have there. So we want to change the width, for example. So the width is what we want to change. So you need to type the width that we want to change first. So the width is actually a property. So you can see we already have suggestions, and these are CSS suggestions. So we click on width. So we are going to have width then colon something. And also it also has a semicolon. So after every property declaration, we have a semicolon. So let's say we want to change the width to let's say 10px, for example. So now when we talk of, you can see how small it is. So when we talk of sizes in CSS, so we have like values we use. They are like units. The same way we have centimeters, we have meters, millimeters. So we also have pixels, which is one of the values or one of the units that's identified by our browsers. Not only browsers, even in images. Images are declared based on pixels. So that's just for that. So let's increase this to let's say 100 pixels to make it bigger. So it appears bigger now. So now do the same thing for the width, for the height as well. So the same thing we did for the previous one. We have style equal to, then we have width as what we want to change, and 100 pixels as what we want to change it to as well. So that's just for the width. So if you want to add another styling to that particular element, so you won't create a new style attribute. You make use of the same style attribute, but what you need to do is that after this semicolon, you write a space and write the next one. So it's not after every declaration of what you want to change, you need to have a semicolon to separate one style from a different style. So now we need to have we want to have the height as well. So we write our height, then we have a colon of, let's say height should be 200 pixels. So we have several values. Oh, this is not a square anymore. So let me just use 100 pixels. So we have several units we use in CSS. We have px, we have p, which other? We have percentage, we have vw, we have vh, view width and view height. We have a lot of them as well that we make use of. So we have rem, we have em. So don't worry, when we get to more parts of CSS, probably tomorrow we'll be taking that as well. So that is just for that. So that is for the inline styling. How to add styling inside the element itself. So by using the style attribute. So we have another one we call the internal styling. So this meeting is ending in 11 minutes. So probably I'll have to create a new meeting and send the link probably. So you can see what we have here. We have or probably we might even finish before the time exits. So we have internal styling. So internal styling is by creating a style element. So HTML also has a style element you can use. So but it will be inside the head section. I forgot to mention this title of the thing is inside the head element, and it is used to set the title of our page. See what we have here. It is what is going to show on our browser tab, which is documents. It is coming from this place. So let's say we want to have like HTML tutorial as an example. So you can see it will change to, so you can see, so that just is used for, it is the title element inside the head section of our web page. So the same thing for our style element, it comes into or inside the head section as well. So we have our style also, is also an element, and this is where we put all our CSS if we want to make use of internal styling. So this is what we call internal styling, by making use of the style element. So I can just copy everything. Now this one has its own syntax. So if you want to change the color of your H2, for example, so let's say color pink, for example. So you need to have a syntax you need to follow. So the first thing you need to write is what is the selector. So the selector can be, okay, I think I will compile something for CSS2 and send to the group, like a CSS style sheet, so which can actually use to understand this better. So for the selector now, we want to change, what do we want to change? So that's what I mean by the selector. We want to change our H2, so we write our H2 as the selector. Then we now have a curly brace. So curly brace is already on our keyboard, just click on the curly brace. So for the opening and closing of the curly brace. So in the curly brace now we'll be having all our styles we want to add inside. So So you can just click on enter to make your code formatted and look beautiful. Again, H2 is what we call the selector. It is what we want to change something inside. So now for the H2 we want to change the color. So what we want to change is the next thing. So we want to change the color. So we have a colon. What do we want to change the color to? To pink. So we have our pink. It's actually very simple and it looks like you're just writing normal text. You see how easy it is. See the color has changed already. So adding two pink is too okay, let me also do something like okay, let's use color blue instead. So you can see now everything is working fine. Okay, so if you wonder why having RGB something, so colors have different units or format as well. We have the normal color like their own color names like color white, blue, red, orange, yellow. We also have what we call the RGB values. So it's like I'm trying to mix a paint, and this first one is the R, the second one is the G, the third one is the B. So the first one is the red. I don't know what this is coming up. We have the blue and we have the green. So when you take 0% of red, 40% of green, and 96% of blue, and you mix together, so you'll be getting this color. So that's why we have this. So we can actually also make it of normal colors too. And we have another one make it of, which is the X value. So these are advanced things that you will see them in the PDF I will send to the group about CSS style sheet. So that's just for that. So let's say for example we want to add something else to this particular element. Remember that we need to add our semicolon. Then you come to the next line to add another style. So this is what you are trying to edit. So let's say we want to change the font size, for example. So we have a property called font size. So you just need to write the font size. So it's also a property. And also if you have CSS properties that are common compound nouns or compound names. So whereby you have font and size. So you don't do this. You don't give spaces. You don't give spaces between them. So rather you make use of a dash or a hyphen, whatever it is called. So we don't give spaces in them at all. So we have font size and we have a colon. So we change the font size to something like, let's say 20px. So you can see it became smaller. So let's say we want to change it to, let's say 50 pixels. I think it should become bigger than this now. So you can see the size has changed. So as I said, this px is one of the units that we use for values in CSS. So you can also have it for width, height, and other things as well, even for font size. And don't forget our semicolon. So this is what we call the internal styling. So if you want to style your paragraph as well, just come to the next line. After you've closed the H1 you are trying to style, then you come to what? You come to this second line, like, or third line. Then you have the paragraph that you want to edit again. Then you have this curly braces, so we call it curly braces. And you come to the next line. You also change the color. Let's say change the color to, let's say, gold, for example. So I think there should be so you can see this is it over here. So this it has changed to gold, color gold. So I won't talk much about this again because I think it's actually already clear. So because of our time, I'll be going straight into the external styling from what we have on this our schedule. So external styling is the last one that we're taking for today. We've taken color, font, and spacing. Now spacing is not really needed though. I'll talk about that tomorrow probably. So for the external styling is when we have a separate CSS file inside our folder structure. So whereby we need to create a CSS file. So let's say for example we want to have the file name as, let's say, style.css. Remember I said something yesterday about file extensions. HTML files must end with HTML.html. CSS file must end with .css. Very, very important. If not, it won't work. So after creating your CSS file, what you need to do? You need to do the same thing as what we actually did here. And I don't want to waste our time at all. I'll just copy everything we have here, or I can just copy this whole thing we have here. So I'll just cut. So let me cut everything and paste it inside this place. Ctrl V. So it's still the same syntax as everything else. H2 color blah 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 P and everything. Still the same syntax. So how do we now make sure? You can say that even though we've copied everything, it is still not working for our heading 2 and our paragraph. The color is not showing. That's because we've not linked our CSS to our HTML. So how do we link it together? So we make it of what we call the link element. So the link element is also an element that is placed inside the head section. So we make it of the link element to import our CSS. So if you type link, you will see something like this. So we have already called the style sheet. It is telling the HTML file that this thing we are trying to import is a style sheet. CSS means cascading style sheet. So it's telling us that this is a CSS file we are trying to import. Then you have href. So href, from even if you remember what we have href in our anchor element. So it's the location of the CSS file you want to use for our HTML file. So remember the same syntax, put a dot and a backslash. You can see suggestions there already. So this CSS file, style.css, and immediately everything changes, like the style begins to manifest. So our color changes and our size changes as well. So this is just the syntax for how to make use of external CSS. Just create a CSS file and put all your code, CSS codes. So these are CSS codes, not HTML codes anymore. You see, we don't have angle brackets, we don't have attribute and like, so we only have pure CSS. The first thing we have here is the selector, which can be any element. So it can be an element name like h2, paragraph, h1, image, img, li, table, and it can also be other things as well. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow, God willing. So then we have this curly braces, which is going to contain everything we want to attach to this particular selector. Then we have the property we want to change, which is the color, and we give it a value of RGB or anything. You can also give it a color of probably a normal text color like red, green, blue, or anything else. Then we have a semicolon that separates every declaration. So this itself is a declaration, this line is a declaration, the font size too is a declaration. You can see we change the font size to 50 pixels. So if you want to, So if you want to do the same thing for other elements too, you need to select the element by using their element name, which is the paragraph, which is the P here. Then you put your curly brace as usual, then you put your color and you put the color value. So you can see how everything seems now. This is where we'll be stopping for today, because our meeting is ending very soon. So now the assignment we'll be having for today, and also if you have questions, just use the submission group. I won't be taking questions now because of the time limit. So if you have any question, please use the submission group to drop your questions. So the assignment for today is that the things the assignment I gave you yesterday, which I said you should make a profile page where you have your picture, you have links to your links to your social media platforms, where you have your name and other text as well, a description of yourself using paragraph. So you need to make something like, let me just open this email. So you are going to style that thing that you created yesterday. So you give styles to it. You change the color from black to anything you want to use. Your image shouldn't be normal image, so you should use CSS to style the image. So you can choose to use inline style, external style, or internal style. But I prefer that you make use of the three of them together. So you can make use of the three together, so that you can be able to practice the three of them at the same time. So you can also have something else to practice, like the tables with lengths. So just create a table of probably students in your school or something like that, or just any random data that you can use to create a table. You can also practice the forms as well. So another assignment is that you create a login form, which is going to have a space for the username, a space for password, and a button to submit. So we'll also do this as well. So those are two assignments that you'll be having. The first one is to style the page that you created yesterday, which you submitted today. So style the page with CSS. That's the first assignment. The second one is that you should create a login form or a login page. You should have a title that says login. Then you're going to have input elements, the one for username, one for password, and the last one is going to be a button. So you should do that as well. So I think this will be everything for today's class. We'll see tomorrow in tomorrow's session. Please let's also try to be very punctual, because this time limit is affecting us a lot. If we started earlier, 1 hour is not something that is small. So you can take a lot of things within 1 hour. So I think this will be everything for now. So we'll see you in tomorrow's session. If you have questions, please just drop them on the group. I will attend to them as soon as possible as I see them. Alright, so everyone, good night. Have a nice day. So we can start leaving the meeting now. Thank you very much.